Let's talk about one of the most volatile and, frankly, dangerous rivalries in the world today. For decades, a tense triangle of power has been building in the Middle East, and a lot of experts think it's right on the edge of becoming a major confrontation.
But how did we get here? How on earth did these three countries, Iran, Israel, and the United States, end up as such bitter enemies? The answer might surprise you, because this story doesn't actually start with hostility. It starts with a partnership. For years now, these three nations have been locked in what's known as a shadow war. Now, what does that even mean? Well, this isn't your typical conflict, with armies clashing on a battlefield. No, this is a war fought behind the scenes, through spies, cyber attacks, and proxy battles. To really understand how this all happened, we have to go back in time. We need to look at one single pivotal year that changed everything: 1979. This was the year that turned partners into lifelong rivals.
It's almost hard to believe, but before 1979, the relationships here were completely different. There was actually a lot of quiet cooperation going on. But then, the Iranian Revolution happened, and it shattered everything. Almost overnight, that quiet partnership turned into a bitter, nasty rivalry.
So before '79, Iran was ruled by the Shah. He was a key ally of the United States and even had a quiet working relationship with Israel. But the revolution wasn't just a new leader taking over. It was a total ideological earthquake. The new leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, created a government that was completely opposed to American influence. He famously called the U.S. the Great Satan, and he saw Israel as an illegitimate state that shouldn't exist. The country's entire foreign policy got flipped on its head.
And if there was any doubt about this new reality, the Iran hostage crisis erased it. Shortly after the revolution, Iranian students stormed the U.S. embassy in Tehran and held American diplomats hostage for 444 days. I mean, can you imagine? After that, there was just no turning back. The relationship was totally broken.
Okay, so if it's not a direct all-out war, how is this conflict actually fought? Well, it plays out in the shadows, mostly on two main fronts.
First up, the big one, the nuclear issue. Iran swears this nuclear program is just for peaceful things, like generating electricity. But Israel and the US are convinced it's a cover for building nuclear weapons. And for a small country like Israel, the idea of a hostile Iran with a nuclear bomb is what they call an existential threat, a threat to their very survival. To stop it, Israel has reportedly done things like launch cyber attacks, sabotage facilities, and has even been linked to assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists.
The second front is fought through something called a proxy conflict. So what's a proxy war? Well, it's when two rival countries want to fight each other, but they don't want to risk a direct war. So instead, they arm and fund opposing groups in another country's conflict and let those proxies do the fighting for them.
And this is where things get really messy. It creates this dangerous cycle of tit for tat. So, Iran will support groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Then, in response, Israel launches airstrikes against Iranian targets, often in Syria. The U.S. jumps in, like when it killed a top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. And then what happens? Iran retaliates, firing missiles at U.S. bases in the region. You see? Each action triggers a reaction, and the whole thing constantly threatens to spiral out of control.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a serious problem for the Middle East, but why does it matter to me? Well, the truth is, the consequences of this shadow war are massive for the entire world. This is so much more than a regional dispute.
Take a look at this number. 20%. Any guesses? That's the percentage of the entire world's oil supply that passes through a tiny little waterway called the Strait of Hormuz, which happens to be right next to Iran.
So just imagine if a full-blown war breaks out. Shipping through that strait could be completely shut down. And what does that mean for you and me? It means the price of gas you put in your car could suddenly go through the roof. We're talking about something that could trigger a global economic crisis, all because of this one little choke point.
And the risks don't just stop at our wallets. A wider war could throw the entire region into chaos, pulling in neighboring countries like Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. You'd likely see massive humanitarian crises, huge numbers of refugees, and it could even pull in other world powers, making a bad situation even worse.
So all of that brings us to today. And right now, after decades of this shadow boxing, the situation is more tense than ever before. The entire region really does feel like it's on the brink of something terrible. One of the key moments recently that really ratcheted up the tension was back in 2018. That's when the U.S. decided to pull out of the big Iran nuclear deal. You know, that agreement was designed to keep Iran's nuclear activities in check.
After the US left, Iran ramped its program back up, and things got bad fast.
There's a quote that gets thrown around a lot by analysts, and it's that the region is sitting on a geopolitical powder keg. And honestly, that's not an exaggeration. All the ingredients for a massive explosion are there. It's just waiting for a spark.
And that spark could be anything. A single drone strike, a missile that lands in the wrong place, a surprise attack by a proxy group. Literally any small incident could be the trigger that ignites a much larger, direct war between these powers. The peace, if you can even call it that, is just that fragile.
So, after more than 40 years of this dangerous game, the world is left holding its breath, asking a truly terrifying question. Will this rivalry somehow stay in the shadows? Or is it about to explode into a full-blown conflict that could reshape the Middle East and the rest of the world forever?